Hello and welcome. Today, author R.T. Kael shares another inspiring story from the Bedtime Stories with Heart and Soul series, written to help you slow down, reflect, and end the day with a little more peace. Now, here's the author.
Hello, my name is author R.T. Kael. Today's story is called Alpha Male, so let's get started. Chapter 1. The Rise of Kael. The moon was high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the vast expanse of forest and snow-covered mountains. Shadows danced along the ground as the breeze rustled through the trees. In the heart of the wilderness, Kael, a towering wolf with silver and black fur, stood at the edge of a clearing. He was the alpha male of his pack, a title he had fought hard for, but one that came with more challenges than he had ever imagined. Around him, his pack rested after a long day of hunting and scouting. They were a close-knit group, a family forged through survival and loyalty. Yet even in the quiet of the night, Kael felt the weight of his position bearing down on him. It was not just about leading, it was about providing, protecting, and being the source of strength when his pack faltered. Kael's journey to leadership had been difficult. He had been born to a lower-ranked mother, a quiet wolf named Lyra, who had lived in the shadows of the pack. As a young pup, Kael had been small and often overlooked. He had no claims to power, no family heritage to boast of, but what he had was tenacity. He was born with a fire in his heart and a relentless drive to prove himself. Chapter 2. Taking the Lead. It was during the harsh winter that Kael had proven his worth. Food had been scarce, and the old alpha, a wolf named Vex, had grown weak. Kael, although young, took it upon himself to lead hunts, often venturing out alone when the pack's energy waned. His success in bringing down prey earned him the respect of his fellow wolves, and his natural charisma began to draw them to him. He was fierce, brave, and fearless. By spring, the pack recognized him as the rightful alpha, and Kael took his place as their leader. But as the years passed, Kael learned that the role of alpha was as much a burden as it was a privilege. This night, his ears perked up as he sensed movement at the edge of the clearing. A young wolf, Kelda, approached him cautiously. She was one of the newer members, having joined from a neighboring pack after losing her family. Her amber eyes reflected a mixture of respect and nervousness. "Kael," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I wanted to ask, do you think we'll find enough food to last the winter? I heard the other hunters talking. They're worried." Kael gave a short nod, not betraying his own anxieties. "The mountains are unforgiving, Kelda, but we've survived worse. I'll lead the next hunt tomorrow. Tell the others to stay close." As she retreated, Kael felt a pang of doubt. Winter was fast approaching, and with each passing day, the prey was becoming scarcer. As alpha, he was expected to provide, to reassure his pack that they were safe. Yet he too had his fears, fears that he couldn't voice. Not now, not ever. Chapter 3. Facing Survival. The following morning, Kael gathered the strongest hunters in the pack. Ren, a formidable wolf with thick brown fur, Skara, whose agility was unmatched, and Liko, a newcomer with a penchant for tracking. They set off, their eyes and ears alert as they moved through the forest in silence. The snow crunched beneath their paws as they traversed familiar hunting grounds, sniffing the air for signs of deer or hare. Hours passed, and still, they found nothing. Kael's patience was wearing thin, and he sensed the frustration mounting within his team. He led them deeper into the forest, further than they had ventured in weeks. They had no choice. Without food, the pack wouldn't last long. Just as despair began to set in, Kael caught a scent. It was faint, but unmistakable. A deer, not far off, grazing on the sparse grass that remained under a canopy of trees. Kael motioned for his team to crouch low and spread out. With practiced precision, the wolves surrounded their prey, cutting off any possible escape routes. Kael gave the signal, and in a flurry of motion, they launched themselves at the deer. The animal bolted, but Kael and his team were relentless. Ren lunged, sinking his teeth into the deer's hind leg, slowing it down. Skara darted in, blocking its path, while Liko circled around, nipping at its flank. Kael moved in for the final strike, his jaws closing around the deer's throat as he brought it down with a powerful tug. Kael briefly felt sad for the deer, but understood that was what nature had intended. The deer gave up its life for the pack to live on. Also, if the deer survived, their herd would continue to expand until there wasn't enough food available, and many of them would end up starving. So this was nature's way of maintaining a balance. Chapter 4. A brief moment to relax. The pack was victorious, but the hunt had taken its toll. Kael, panting heavily, looked at his hunters, their flanks heaving with exhaustion. He knew they would need to conserve their strength for the coming days. When they returned to the den, the pack gathered around them, eager to share in the spoils. As they feasted, Kael looked over his family. Old wolves, young pups, newcomers, and veterans. They were counting on him, but Kael couldn't shake the sense that the challenges of winter had only just begun. The days that followed were grueling. Kael led hunt after hunt, sometimes returning with nothing. The pack grew thinner, their strength waning with each failed attempt. Tensions rose, and Kael could see the doubt in their eyes. A low-ranking wolf named Jarek began to stir up whispers, questioning Kael's ability to lead them through the hardship. One evening, as Kael lay in the den, resting after an exhausting day, Jarek approached him. Chapter 5. Challenge to the Throne. Kael, Jarek began, his tone laced with arrogance, the pack is starving. Your hunts are failing. Perhaps it's time for a new alpha. Kael raised his head, his golden eyes narrowing. The challenge was clear. To remain alpha, Kael would have to fight. The pack gathered around them, a circle of tense, waiting wolves. Kael's heart pounded as he faced Jarek. This wasn't the first time he had defended his title, but he knew that if he lost, it could mean disaster for the pack. Jarek lunged, teeth bared, but Kael was faster. He sidestepped, letting Jarek's momentum carry him forward, and with a powerful strike knocked him to the ground. Jarek scrambled up, snarling, but Kael was relentless, striking again and again, until finally, Jarek lowered his head in submission. Chapter 6. Trust and respect are earned. Kael looked around, meeting the gaze of each member of his pack. I have led you through worse winters. Trust in me, and we will see this one through as well. The pack remained silent, their loyalty reaffirmed, but Kael could see the doubt lingering in their eyes. He had won the fight, but he knew that his leadership would be tested in the days to come. That night, as he lay in the den, he thought of his own journey to becoming alpha. He remembered the nights spent alone in the wilderness, learning to fend for himself, the hunger that gnawed at his belly as he fought to survive. It was that hunger that had driven him to greatness, but it was also the one thing that made him understand the fear in his pack's eyes. The next morning, Kael rose early, determined to lead his pack to new hunting grounds. He had heard stories of a valley rich with prey, though it lay several days' journey to the east. The journey would be treacherous, and there was no guarantee of success, but Kael knew it was their best chance. He gathered the pack and announced his decision. Some were hesitant, but they trusted him. Together, they set off, a line of gray, black, and brown shapes moving through the snow. The journey was brutal. They faced blizzards, freezing winds, and treacherous terrain. Several times they had to stop, their bodies weary and their spirits low. Yet Kael pushed on, encouraging them, sharing in their struggles. He hunted tirelessly, even when exhaustion threatened to overtake him. And slowly, the pack began to rally around him, their faith in him renewed. Chapter 7. The Promised Land. After days of travel, they finally reached the valley. It was as rich with life as the stories had promised. Deer, hare, and birds filled the land, and the pack feasted like they hadn't in weeks. Their strength returned, and with it, their loyalty to Kael solidified. In the days that followed, Kael led them in establishing a new home. The pack grew stronger, and the hardships of the past winter became a distant memory. Kael knew that challenges would come again, as they always did, but he had learned something crucial. Leadership wasn't about power or fear. It was about sacrifice, resilience, and the ability to inspire others to keep going, even when the odds seemed impossible and insurmountable. And so Kael looked over his pack, his family, and felt a sense of peace. They had survived, not because of his strength alone, but because they had stood together as a pack. As long as they had each other, he knew they would face any storm that came their way. And that's because they trusted and believed in each other, and especially in Kael as the leader of the pack. Thank you for joining me.
Hello again. As we come to a close, remember to like, subscribe, and follow us so you don't miss a single adventure. Thank you for spending this heartfelt moment with us. Until next time, we hope this story brought you a little peace as the day comes to a close.